Hello and welcome to our talk show Vietnam Today on VOV.VN. Vietnam and the Islamic Republic of Iran, or Iran for short, established diplomatic ties on August the 4th, 1973. Over the past 5 decades, the two countries have maintained good traditional political and diplomatic relations through many official high-level visits by their senior leaders. They both have great potential for cooperation in the fields of economy, trade, investment, tourism, culture, and people-to-people exchange. However, bilateral trade exchange remains modest, not on a par with their cooperation potential, as well as fine political relations between the two countries. In our talk show today, marking 5 decades of the two countries' diplomacy, we have invited the ambassador of Iran to Vietnam, Ali Akbar Nazari, to our studio to talk more about the development of the bilateral ties over the past 5 decades, as well as the prospect of future cooperation between the two countries. So, good morning, the ambassador, and thank you very much for coming to our studio today.
Xin chào and good morning. It's a pleasure to be with you, and thank you so much for having me here today.
You see, Iran is a rather big and influential country in the Middle East as well as in the world. But I think not so many Vietnamese people know more about this country. Could you please further make a brief introduction of your country? How does it look like?
First of all, let me just share with you that it is a big country that located in West Asia, neighboring with 15 countries, 7 in land and 8 in water. The land of Iran is about 1,648,195 square kilometer, which I could say about 5 times. Five times to the land of the Vietnam. Of course, many of maybe the audience know well about the strategic location of Iran, which is located in the Persian Gulf and Strait of Hormuz, which is a very vital strait for transit of the crude oil of the world, we could say. About the natural resources, Iran is a very rich country. About 11% of its land is arable and has a lot of oil, natural gas, coal, chrome, copper, iron, manganese, zinc, and sulfur, and many other minerals resources that reserve the second and third in the world in regard of the petroleum and gas. At the same time, there are some maybe items we could say or products that Iran rank the first in the world. I'm sure that you heard about the caviar, you heard about the Persian carpet, you had some information for sure about the pistachio and saffron. That they are the best in the world. If I talk about the population, we are a bit less than Vietnam. Roughly around 85 million is the population of the country. The Persian language is the official language, but at the same time there are other different languages as well and many other dialects. If just naming some of the languages is Turkey, Kurdish, and Arabic, but many other, as I said, dialects. We not recognize them as languages.
No, Iranian Foreign Minister Amir Abdollahian has stated that Iran will pursue a balanced foreign policy that is developing good relations with neighbors and Asian countries, and that the foreign policy of the Red Sea government is Asia-centered. So why is Asia given priority in the government foreign policy? Is Vietnam among those Asian countries that Iran looks to strengthen cooperation with, and why?
Your good question. Maybe current government, I mean the Mr. President Raisi's foreign policy is a balanced and dynamic foreign policy. Although, of course, as you rightly mentioned, that said it is Asia-centered, or maybe give the priority to the neighbors and Asia. At the same time, we are open to the whole of the world. It is not means when the priority is there, it means ignoring the other part of the world. Of course, you are following the news. Very recently, there are a lot of visits to Africa and Latin America as well. Even we had a very traditional exchange of delegation in different level, of course, with European country as well. But maybe it is very obvious that the neighbors has border, very easy for access, less expenses for transportation, for transit, and many other advantages. Due to that, of course, it is very easy. For example, this is the case for Vietnam, for Iran, for all other countries. Then we ignore this neighboring countries' priority. Then goes to why Asia. Of course, there are a lot of reasons behind this policy. First of all, a very friendly relationship without any tension and biased policy by Asian country. We believe, and we are, of course, a country of Asia. Then the commonality, similarity, and the common sense among this region and the people, of course, is another reason that lead to work with them even maybe interestingly or easily. At the same time, a very clear factor is about the development of the position of Asia in new world equation, which rightly many scholars call it the century of Asia. Of course, with this position, with that background, Iran give the priority to the Asia. The third reason I could share with you is most of the Asian big country developing and emerging has a very good record of growth. The growth required, first of all, energy. Then it is very clear that make a lot of opportunities for Iran to work with the Asia, to provide them the energy as an energy supplier and exporter. This is the just few reasons that why Asia receive a priority in our foreign policy. About Vietnam, if I just say in one word, definitely Vietnam is among the list of priority countries for expansion of the relation between the two countries. Of course, I could share a lot of reasons behind, just very briefly. 50 years of brotherly, friendly relationship, which we mark it this year, 2023, as the 50th year of the establishment of the diplomatic relation. I just interpreted to the friendly, brotherly diplomatic relationship. Secondly, as I said, the growth of Vietnam required the energy. We are an energy supplier, and that is another field which we have to implement or realize in line of the national interest of the two countries. More important, even before those that I raised, the political will from the high official ranking from the both sides. We always were very good friends without the slightest differences between the two countries. At the same time, there are a lot of common characteristics in policy, in culture, in viewpoint regarding the unilateralism, regarding the multilateralism, and many other factors. Due to this reason, as I said, of course, Vietnam is among the first countries after the post-COVID. Now we revive the exchange of the high official ranking delegation.
Right, thank you. I appreciate your comment about Vietnam. It's very kind of you to talk about Vietnam. Vietnam is also one of the countries that Iran wants to strengthen cooperation with. among those Asian countries.
Thank you.
Right, thank you. So, as you know, that Vietnam and Iran are celebrating 50 years of their diplomacy this year, and both countries have recorded plenty of gains in bilateral cooperation. So, what are the major highlights, and what impressed you most, and why?
As you rightly mentioned, we recorded a very brotherly and friendly 50 years of friendship between the two countries, which of course everybody agree with me that it is a long history. It is not days or months or years. It is half a century.
5 decades.
And it is very easy to predict the next half of the century even will be broader, will be brighter, and will be expand the relationship between the two brother and friend country. As I said, maybe because of the COVID, there was some haltation. Of course, the countries concentrate on management of the COVID and controlling the COVID, which this is another maybe issue really to congratulate you and admire the performance of the government of the Vietnam in regard of combating the COVID, one of the best in the world. I was here amid the peak of the COVID. While the whole world were facing too much challenges and difficulties, over there my children go to school, we are going to the shopping malls and to our embassy, very similar to the normal time. Of course, this is because of the very excellent performance of the government of the Vietnam. Let me go back to the business. Very fortunately, as I said, we revived the exchange of the high official ranking visit after the post-COVID. We arranged the visit of His Excellency Tu Lam, Honorable Minister of the Public Security of Vietnam, to pay a visit in May. And at the same time, let me share a very first-hand news with you today that we are arranging for a very high official ranking visit of Vietnam to Iran, which hopefully it will be realized very soon.
As you see, that the two economies are said to be highly complementary rather than competitive. Could you please further elaborate on this comment?
As I said, we are energy supplier and exporter. Yeah. At the same time, we are happy that the friend country of Vietnam now recorded almost about 7% growth for a decade. This is very, how can I say, basic and clear and a common sense as well, that growth, it means required energy. Yes. Or even maybe we can say briefly, growth is equal energy. It means Vietnam, of course, for its growth, need energy. And we are a producer of energy. Yes. This is, of course, very clearly commonality, not competitive each other. I see. Secondly, if we go to the agriculture products, for example, we are in need of importing rice from abroad for a long years. Even in the past, we imported rice from Vietnam as well. Hopefully, in the near future, again, revitalize or restart the importation of the rice from Vietnam. At the same time, while we are talking about their importing rice, tea, coffee, and other agricultural commodities from Vietnam, we have some, and we can share with the noble people of Vietnam, which all are definitely in line of the interest of the people of the two countries. For example, we have one of the best kiwi, apple, cherry, pomegranate, grape even, pistachio, saffron, and many other items. We can export these items and import the items that I said. Then you see there is no any competitiveness. Really, we are complement each other in regard of the trade. As I said, Iran has a long and vast area, and we have the corridors from south to north. Vietnam can easily get benefit from this facility to export its items to the Central Asia with about more than 500 million population, which of course could be a big market.
Although Vietnam and Iran established diplomatic relations in 1973, bilateral economic cooperation only really started in the early 1990s of the 20th century and has flourished over the past 2 decades. Statistics show that two-way trade was just $6.5 million in 2001, but rose to more than 100 million in 2018 and more than 120 million in 2021. Could you further explain the reason behind the increase in trade cooperation between the two countries?
I'm sure that the real total volume of the trade of the two countries is more than these digits, which goes to some other intermediate destination and then from there to Iran. At the same time, vice versa, from the intermediate destination and finally to come to Vietnam. We believe somehow, very fortunately, maybe we could claim about 400 to 500. Particularly before the COVID-19. Secondly, that based on what I shared about the brotherly, friendly relationship between the two countries, about the always political will by the high official and dignitaries of the two countries, welcoming to each other, no any slightest even differences between the two countries in any field. Of course, these reasons lead to witness a growth of the bilateral economic between the two countries. Although we believe that the current situation of the trade between the two countries, it is not at all in conformity with the high potential and capacities of the two countries, which we talk somehow about some item, including the energy and agricultural products and many other, of course the industrial as well, from both countries to exchange the industrial products. In nano from Iran, in many industrial products from Vietnam as well. Of course, we import, but as I said, it is a minimum and there are a lot of capacity. This is our duty from both sides to realize this potential as much as possible.
As you mentioned, that trade cooperation is a major pillar in bilateral cooperation. However, the export value of Vietnamese commodity shipped to Iran makes up less than 1% of Iran's total import value. That means that despite the progress made, bilateral trade has yet to fully tap into the potential and strength of the two sides. Why? What are the obstacles and how to address them, you think?
There are, of course, reasons behind for sure, and maybe it is really worse to be analysis deeply and exactly by the expert. But let me share just maybe some factors or maybe reasons that we are facing and maybe we are talking about nowadays. First of all, maybe lack of information and not sufficient acquaintance with the capacity of each other. Geographical distance could impede a bit because makes some extra expenses when you want to transit, for example, goods. At the same time, maybe the corona, for sure, for all countries, but of course for Iran as well, could play as an impediment factor. But what I can say and assure that there is no any restriction in theory and in practice that lead the trade volume between the two countries be less, or maybe the export from Vietnam controlled to Iran. In contrary, the country completely open to the Vietnam public-private sector to export all items that they are interested to export to Iran. We welcome the broaden of the bilateral trade relationship. Even I said this is our duty to do our best to join to join the hands to expand as much as possible. There are a lot of potentials. Even we can, in a normal situation, think about even over $2 billion of trade volume between the two countries. We believe in a huge capacity and capability between the two countries. Fortunately, nowadays, the Vietnam export, maybe we could say, to the whole world. A lot of industrial products plus the traditional agricultural products.
Yes.
Very most welcome all items from Vietnam to Iran. At the same time, I said, the big items from Iran,
Vietnam.
crude oil, gas, I mean in LNG, petrochemical, bitumen, many other required items for growth and construction as a necessity for continuation of the growth of the Vietnam.
You see that Vietnam and Iran have signed a number of cooperation agreements in various areas. However, the fact is that these agreements were penned or signed long ago, and they may not keep up with development trends at present and in the future. Do you think the two countries shall renew or sign the new documents? And if so, what areas will be given priority?
First of all, we have to think about the implementation of the existing documents. I agree that maybe we need to revise once again, to re-study once again our documents and do our best to implement. There are a very excellent basic documents between the two countries that really could pave the way for expansion of the relation between the two countries a lot. Secondly, there are some, as I said, basic documents, but we can complement it with the MOUs for implementation. Very fortunately, nowadays, we are following to finalize some new document between the two countries. In the last visit of His Excellency Tulem, we already signed 3 important agreements in regard of transfer of prisoners, extradition, and cooperation in organized crime. At the same time, for the next visit that I share with you, with the high official ranking visit, which will hopefully occur very soon, we have a few documents as well. Most of them is almost finalized to be signed. With this bunch of the document, with the 3 last that just 2-3 months ago already signed, with a basic and very valuable document that we have, I'm sure that there is no any maybe lack of documents or agreements in regard of expansion of the bilateral relation. Then just we have to concentrate on the implementation and joining hand to realize the items and the materials that we agreed on.
So Vietnam and Iran have so far organized 9 meetings of the Joint Governmental Committee on Economic Cooperation and 7 political consultation sessions. What are the specific outcomes of these mechanisms?
As you know, the Economic Commission is maybe one of the best platform, or maybe mechanism, we could say, for gathering the all businessmen from two countries to exchange the ideas and views, and finding the ways and means to expansion the relationship between the two countries. As I said in previous question, based on the realities, the two presidents predicted and aimed to reach $2 billion per year between the two countries' trade value. This came because of that kind of mechanism. Based on the understanding of that mechanism and exchange of the views and ideas, they found the capacities and capabilities of the two countries. Maybe again, the implementation phase should be reconsidered once again. Maybe we didn't bring enough energy to realize whatever was the understanding and fact-finding of the Joint Economic Commission. Very hopefully, with holding the next Economic Commission, we concentrate on this issue, and based on, of course, a lot of developments in the world and in both countries, we could have a more fruitful session as the 10th Economic Commission session in Hanoi. About the political consultation between the deputy ministers, that is a very, I believe myself, an excellent mechanism for exchanging the views on different issues in the evolving world, in a very, minute by minute developments that occurred here and there in the world. Two countries with common sense, common principle, common norms and values, particularly in multilateralism, which I share about the multilateralism against the unilateralism, and many other factors, particularly even, we could say, even in regard of human rights, and many other issues about the development, about the climate change, and many others. It is an excellent mechanism to facilitate of exchange of the views and agree on some common stances and supporting each other in multilateralism as two developing countries. Due to that, of course, we are very interested to organize the next round of the consultation committee, which we believe has a lot of added value, not only for bilateral, but at the same time for regional and multilateralism.
Okay, well, thank you. As we see, Vietnam and Iran are celebrating 50 years of their diplomacy this year. What are the major activities that Iran plans to do on this occasion? And what do you expect from Vietnam-Iran relations in coming years?
Very fortunately, we had a very good agreement with our friends and colleagues in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Vietnam regarding the celebration of the 50th anniversary in two countries. Let me just share with you that fortunately one ceremony already held in Iran by presence of His Excellency Tulem during his visit to Tehran. Now we are planning to celebrate our 50th anniversary in Hanoi in 4th of August. We summarized or maybe shortlisted some practical, doable, at the same time with durable result actions. First of all, it was planning of exchange of high official ranking delegations. At the same time, exchange of the congratulatory message between the two presidents of the two countries and two ministers of foreign affairs. including to that, we are planning and already conduct coordination with the relevant agencies and authorities of Vietnam to have a cultural week, maybe we can say film week as well, and friendly sport, particularly football match between the two countries. These are some items that we agreed on it, and of course we are following, and very hopefully we can realize all of them by the end of year. What I expect, a very flourishing of the relationship between the two countries. Of course, the digit of the trade is very important and show the very good signals and very easy understanding. At the same time, the excellent political relationship always was there between the two countries, and I'm sure that it will be broaden and expand in the future. Hopefully, we will witness a very high frequency exchange of high official ranking visit, people to people interaction. A lot of tourists come to Vietnam. A lot of tourists goes from Vietnam to Iran. Even for realization, this may be we could say goal. We are working on a direct flight between the two countries, which hopefully can facilitate, of course, the exchange of the people. I mean the tourism between the two countries.
Okay, right. Thank you. Thank you, the ambassador, for coming to the VOV.VN studio to talk about the development of the Vietnam and Iran relations over the past 5 decades, and then the prospect of the future cooperation. We do believe that the friendly and then cooperative relations between Vietnam and Iran will continue to develop substantively in future. Thank you for watching and hope to see you in another edition of our talk show Vietnam Today on VOV.VN. Goodbye.